friends, welcome to the point. In this session, let's discuss about Indian parliamentary system. Our Constitution of India, it provides for a parliamentary form of government at both the center and the state level. At the center, Article 74 and 75, it deals with the parliamentary system, and Articles 163 and 164, it deals the parliamentary system at the state levels. Modern democratic government, it is classified into parliamentary form and presidential form on the basis of nature of the relations between the executive and the legislatives. In the parliamentary form of government, the executive will be responsible to the legislature for its policies and acts, whereas in the presidential system of government, executive will not be responsible to legislature for its policies and acts. Presidential system is constitutionally independent of the legislature. The parliamentary form of government is also known as cabinet governor, or it is also called as responsible government or Westminster model of government, and it is prevalent in Britain, Japan, Canada, India and among others. And the presidential form of government is also called as non-responsible form of government or non-parliamentary form of government, or we can just say it as a fixed executive system. And it is prevalent in USA, Brazil, Russia, Sri Lanka and among others. Ivor Jennings, he called the parliamentary system of government as cabinet system because the cabinet is the nucleus of power in a parliamentary system, and the parliamentary government is also called as responsible government. Why? Because the cabinet is accountable to the parliament and stays in office so long it enjoys the confidence. Parliamentary system is also described as Westminster model of government after the location of British Parliament, where the parliamentary system was originated. Features of the parliamentary government. The features or principles of parliamentary government in India are nominal and real executive. Here, the president is said to be a nominal executive, which is also called as de jure executive or titular executive, while the Prime Minister is said to be a real executive, or we can call him as a de facto executive. The President is said to be the head of the state, while the Prime Minister is said to be the head of government. Article 74, it provides for the Council of Ministers, which is headed by the Prime Minister. Prime Minister along with the Council of Ministers advise the President to exercise his functions. The advice tendered by the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers is binding on the President. Majority party rule. The political party which secures a majority seats in the Lok Sabha, it forms the government, and the leader of that party will be appointed as a Prime Minister by President, and the other ministers, they are also appointed by the President but on the advice of Prime Minister. And suppose if any party it does not get a majority, then a coalition party is formed by the President to form the government. Collective responsibility. The parliamentary form of government is said to be collectively responsible for all the things it has done. That is, the ministers are collectively responsible to the parliament in general and also to the Lok Sabha. According to Article 75, we can say that the ministers, they act as a team, they swim together and they sink together. That is why it is called as a collective responsibility. The principle of collective responsibility, it implies that the Lok Sabha can remove the ministry, that is any council which is headed by the Prime Minister, from the office by passing a vote of no confidence. Political homogeneity. Usually, the members of Council of Ministers, they belong to the same political party and therefore they share the same political ideas. In case of coalition government, the ministers are bound by consensus. Double membership. The ministers are the members of both legislature and the executive. This means that a person cannot be a minister without being a member of the parliament. The constitution stipulates that a minister who is not a member of the parliament, he should become a member within a period of 6 months. If not, he loses the position as a minister. Leadership of Prime Minister. The Prime Minister, he plays a leadership role in the system of government. Prime Minister is said to be the leader of Council of Ministers, leader of the Parliament, and leader of the party in power. In these capacities, Prime Minister plays a major and a crucial role in functioning the government. Dissolution of lower house. The lower house of the Parliament, that is Lok Sabha, it can be dissolved by the President on recommendation of Prime Minister. We can say that the Prime Minister can advise a President to dissolve the Lok Sabha before the expiry of the term of Lok Sabha and to hold a fresh election. So this means that the executive enjoys the right to get the legislature dissolved in a parliamentary system. Secrecy. The ministers operate on the principle of secrecy of procedure and they cannot divulge information about their proceedings, policies and decisions to anyone. They take the oath of secrecy before entering the office, and the oath of secrecy of the minister, it is administered by the President. Features of presidential government. Indian Constitution, it follows parliamentary system, whereas American Constitution, it follows presidential form of government. And let's discuss about the features of presidential form of government, which is followed in the USA. The American president is both the head of the state and head of his government. The president is elected by an electoral college for a fixed tenure of 4 years. He cannot be removed by the Congress except by the process of impeachment. The president governs with the help of cabinet or smaller body called kitchen cabinet. Kitchen cabinet is just an advisory body and it consists of non-elected departmental secretaries. These people, that are the non-elected departmental secretaries, they are selected and appointed by the president himself and they are responsible only to the president and they can be removed at any time by the president. The president and the secretaries, they are not responsible to the Congress for their acts. They neither possess membership in the Congress nor they attended sessions. The president cannot dissolve the House of Representatives, that is the lower house of the Congress. The doctrine of separation of powers, it is based on the American presidential system. The legislature, executive and the judicial powers of the government, they are separated and vested in 3 independent organs of the government. Merits of the parliamentary system. The parliamentary system of government has some merits. Let's discuss one by one. Harmony between legislature and the executive. So this is one of the greatest advantage we can say which is in parliamentary system. So this harmony between the legislature and the executive, it ensures a very harmonious relationship and cooperation between the legislative bodies and the executive organs of our government. The executive is part of the legislature and they are both interdependent at the work. As a result, there is very less scope for the disputes and conflicts between the legislature and the executive. Responsible government. Parliamentary system is set to establish a responsible government. The ministers are responsible to the parliament for all their acts of omission and commission. And the parliament, it exercises control over the ministers through various devices like question hour, discussions, adjournment motion, no confidence motion, and so on. Parliamentary system, it prevents despotism. That means under this system, the executive authority, it is vested in a group of individuals called Council of Ministers and not in a single person. And this dispersal of authority, it checks the dictatorial tendencies of the executive. Moreover, the executive, it is responsible to the government and they can be removed by no confidence motion. Parliamentary system, it has a ready alternative government. So if suppose in the case a ruling party loses its majority and the head of the state, that is a president, can invite an opposition party to form the government. This means that an alternative government is always ready to form a parliament without any fresh elections. Parliamentary system has a wide representation. In the parliamentary system, the executive consists of group of individuals. They are ministers who are representatives of the people, and hence it is possible to provide representation to all the sections and regions in the government. The Prime Minister, while selecting his minister, he can take this factor into consideration. Demerits of the parliamentary system. Parliamentary system is said to be an unstable government. The parliamentary system, it does not provide for a stable government. There is no guarantee that a government can survive till it completes its tenure. The ministers, they depend on mercy of the majority legislatures. A no confidence motion or a political defection or evils of multi-party coalition, it can make a government more unstable. The government headed by Morarji Desai, Charan Singh, VP Singh, Chandrasekhar, Deve Gowda and I.K. Gujral are some of the examples of unstable government. No continuity of policies. The parliamentary system, it is not conducive for the formation and implementations of long-term policies. This is because due to the tenure of the government. And suppose think there are two governments A and B. If election is conducted and if suppose A wins, then the head of the government and the majority party will be from A. And this A party, it makes some long-term policies and it remains in force till A is ruling. And in the next elections, fresh elections, if B becomes the ruling party, then it removes all the policies that is done by A. That is why there is a no continuity of policies in the parliamentary system. Dictatorship of Cabinet. So when the ruling party, it enjoys absolute majority in the parliament, the cabinet becomes autocratic and it exercises nearly the unlimited powers. Parliamentary system is against separation of powers. In the parliamentary system, the legislature and the executive are together inseparable. The cabinet acts as a leader of the legislature as well as the executive. Government of amateurs. The parliamentary system, it is not conducive to administrative efficiency as the ministers are not experts in their fields. The Prime Minister has a limited choice in the selection of ministers. His choice is restricted to the members of the parliament alone and it does not extend to external talent. Reasons for adopting parliamentary system of government. Initially, a plea was made in favor of US presidential system to form the government in our Indian constitution. But our founding fathers, they preferred a British parliamentary system due to some of the reasons like familiarity with the system, preference to more responsibility, need to avoid legislative, executive conflicts, and nature of Indian society. So what is the familiarity with this parliament system? Our constitution makers, they were somewhat familiar with the parliamentary system and it has been in operation during the British rule. K.M. Munshi, he argued that for at least 30 to 40 years, some kind of responsibility has been introduced in the governance in this contrary, that is in the form of parliamentary system. Our constitutional traditions have been parliamentary before the independence. And after having such a great experience in the parliamentary system, why we should go back and buy a novel experience? This was K.M. Munshi's view. Preference to more responsibility. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, he pointed out in the Constitution Assembly that a democratic executive, he must satisfy two conditions. One is stability and the other is responsibility. And it has been possible so far to devise a system which can ensure stability and responsibility in an equal degree. The American system, it gives more stability, but it has very less responsibility. The British system, it gives more responsibility, but less stability. The draft constitution in recommending the parliamentary system of executive, it preferred more responsibility than stability. Need to avoid legislative executive conflicts. The framers of our constitution, they wanted to avoid the conflicts between legislature and the executive bodies, which are bound to occur in the presidential system, which is in USA right now. They thought that an infant democracy could not afford to take risk of perpetual cleavage or any conflict or threatened conflict between the two organs of the government. That's why our framers of our constitution, they wanted to form a government which would be conducive to manifold development of the country. Nature of Indian society. India is one of the most heterogeneous states and the most complex plural society in the world. Hence, our constitution makers adopted parliamentary system of government. Since this parliamentary system, it offers a greater scope for giving representation to various sections, interests and regions in the government. Parliamentary system, it promotes national spirit among the people and it builds a united India. Whether the parliamentary system, it should be continued or it should be replaced by the presidential system has been the point of discussion and debate in our country since 1970s. This matter was considered in detail by a Swaran Singh committee which is appointed by the Congress government in 1975. The committee said that the parliamentary system is doing well and hence there is no need to replace it by the presidential system.